That's
Yes,
the because river is a common concern everywhere. Water, rivers,
Yeah, this is one of the most important topic in the present context, and
Correct.
particularly when we are looking at overall sustainability and
It's
development, water becomes one of the most
yes,
important components.
true. Although right
In
now the
fact,
noise is a carbon में water की आवाज छुप जाती है. हमको भी आवाज करना पड़ेगा.
yeah. In fact, we are. You would be aware that we are trying to develop this River City Alliance,
Yes,
where focus is on the health of urban river.
correct.
But
yeah,
I think it should be other way around. The
Yeah.
focus should be, the development should be water centric.
Yes, I know. And that is, we have talked about it with Victor and all. But I think this platform, we can bring that focus, because people think of river, so they named it
Yeah.
river because that's what is on front of their mind. So they're starting from where people are already, have their visibility.
Yeah.
But our conversations can connect those dots. You're absolutely right. There's a disconnect, and we all share that concern.
in that sense,
Right.
our Center for River Affairs will go
Yes.
importance day by day, because
Absolutely.
राजीव रंजन सर हमारे साथ इंटरनेशनल रिवर कांग्रेस में ज्वाइन किए थे.
हाँ.
तो उसने बताया जितना इंडिया में रिवर में ऑल ओवर वर्ल्ड में थोड़ा बाढ़ आएगा, ऐसे
Yes.
कुछ प्रॉब्लम होता चले, तो योर Center for River Affairs की importance भी उधर बढ़ता चलेगा, because this is the first center on river, particularly on dealing with the river sector.
Correct.
Yeah. So,
No, absolutely.
yeah,
And they are a treasure,
1 minute
legacy.
we will start a session.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure. But
Antara
it's
India.
good to connect few minutes before so we can have a little bit of chit chat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been anyways if we would have been in a physical conference, obviously.
Yeah. Exactly.
Sir, very soon we are planning, because on this particular topic, that is the urban water footprint dialogue, we are going to plan in Delhi.
Delhi, yes.
So
In person,
physical, hybrid mode also, but some people will join virtually. But we are looking forward, and I will discuss it with you separately.
Yes.
And Ajitab Sharma is also there. Ajitab sir, I have already discussed with Ajitab sir. And Ramnath sir is there from Pune right now.
Yes.
So, and first of all, congratulations to you to be the Deputy Director General of Namami Gange.
Yes.
On behalf
Thank
of
you.
SAIARD.
Thank you.
Oh, yes.
Mr.
Great to have, yes.
So I think Antara, it's 3, so we should start our session.
Okay.
Okay, sir. Sure.
Antara, yeah.
Yes, sir. So, very good afternoon and a warm welcome to everyone present here. I am Antara Kundu, Program Director, SAIARD. Thank you for joining us in this 13-visit dialogue meet on urban water footprints, valuation, resilience, and sustainability. On behalf of South Asian Institute for Advanced Research and Development, I extend a very warm and hearty welcome to all the distinguished guests, delegates, speakers, participants, and each one of you present here. This event has been organized by SAIARD, a think tank to promote SDGs through cognitive research. So, without making any delay, may I now request Dr. Bishwajit Roy Chaudhary, Founder Chairman of SAIARD, to say a few words and continue today's program. Over to you, sir.
Well, thank you, Antara, and congratulations to all our honorable resource persons, particularly for this important to join us for this important issues to discuss on it and to deliver some points from their field-based experience. And as you know that I know that Ajitab sir has also joined in our last Zero Waste dialogue session. And SAIARD, I just wanted to mention within just 2-3 sentences that SAIARD is a policy advocacy think tank working since 2019 in collaboration with the different stakeholders, I mean the government, academia, industry, research organizations, particularly to point out some issues related to our land, related to our humanity, related to our survival. And in that sense, we have association with the Ministry of Jal Shakti through Namami Gange, IMD, National Institute of Urban Affairs, and National Bureau of Soil Survey, NATMO, And along with that, we have several national university, international, national university level collaborations we have. And through that, the way we are looking forward to establish that platform and to bring that concept in front of the world, as that it will be helpful for others to know what should be going on and how we think separately. And today I'd like to share a very good news that just now we have completed our international river congress, and we have organized, and it was so successful that more than 160 delegates throughout the world has joined. And through that conference we are bringing several lots of possibilities, lots of opportunities, particularly in river sector. And as I mentioned that SAIARD has a center of excellence on river, and in that case we are working on it since 5 years, even from my academic career, as I'm a faculty in postgraduate college in Calcutta University since 15 years. So I think this type of initiatives is very much required. And today's concept, whenever I have designed it and I discussed with Mr. Ajitab Sharma sir, and he also praised that concept, that it's really indeed a very pertinent issue in coming days in future. And not only that, through that concept, through that dialogue, I think this is the not just an webinar type, but it is one kind of brainstorming session. That's why I mentioned the curtain raiser dialogue, because it is just the beginning. And through that way, we are looking forward to do something more, how we can execute this initiative, because we know about the carbon footprints. But I think this is the time we have to calculate the urban water footprints. And through that way, here the ministry officials are also joined. So I mean the decision makers, policy makers are also here. So through that platform, I will request that we in coming future should create a platform on behalf of SAIARD. I'm looking forward to do that, where you people also join, and also we through that your connectivity, you can support us to gather some other like-minded peoples, through which we can start the dialogue, through which we can start some initiations. And on that basis, it should come in case of policy sector, because it's a most important issue, as you also mentioned. So with this, I will no longer steer my discussions, but I would like to hear from you also particularly. So once again, I share my sincere thanks to all of you on behalf of SAIARD, and Shubho Mahalaya. This is so we are coming to the season of Navratri and all that. So I think before Navratri, this is the best platform to wish you a very good happy Navratri in coming ahead, and Shubho Mahalaya. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you.
Namaskar.
Thank you.
Over to you, Antara.
Thank you so much.
Wonderful.
Well, now I'd like to invite Dr. Kongana, Professor SAIARD, Water Research Division, to say a few words and continue the program later on. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. I am very much fortunate enough to part of this organization SAIARD, and thanks to the Professor Bishwajit Rai Choudhury for giving me the opportunity to connect with all the distinguished people, because this platform, is my new to this kind of platform, and as a academician, this is the first time I'm meeting to the renowned people who are really walking in the water, climates, and carbons in the reality. So I'm very much fortunate. So here we have several plans and several topics we have taken in this discussion. So before that, I'll mention several scopes and several work that SAIARD has done in their the river part affairs. So here the SAIARD is a center basically dedicated to the river preserving and the revitalization of the river ecosystems. And here they have done several work on the river security economy and the river education, the policies, and how the river can be more and more without any kind of the pollutions. So here, as a hydrologist and geochemistry, I am working on that, how the river pollution is I mean the crucial things of our country. And I also walked the several river, mainly the Damodar River basin, and I have seen the several water pollution sources. So after that, I joined in the SAIARD. I discussed with the Professor Chaudhary that how the river can be, the without pollution and other the contamination free. So here all the policy makers and all the all the education from the people from the education people from the very ministry portions, and I would like to thank to all of you that if for joining this webinar. And first of all, I will request to the Mr. N.P. Srivastava and the Deputy Director General, Ministry of the Jal Shakti, Government of India, to share his views and about this water and the footprints that and recent situation, recent plan from India. So please, sir, it's up to you that we are waiting for your views, this platform. Thank you.
Okay. So thank you very much, and good afternoon to everybody. I would kind of deal with this subject in two ways. One is that let's talk about this urban water footprint in general, and that the topic for the day is valuation, resilience, and sustainability. So we'll discuss about that, and then once we are kind of go through this general framework, after that I would like to put on table that what NMCG, National Mission for Clean Ganga, is doing, because National Mission for Clean Ganga, which just started as a kind of a initiative to clean the river, it has diversified and it is trying to cover various aspects related to today's topic, like valuation, resilience, and sustainability. Right. So urban water footprint is a critical concern for India, and the rapid urbanization and the strains on water resources puts a lot of need to discuss this topic. Now, initiating a dialogue on this matter is crucial for understanding its valuation, resilience, and sustainability within the Indian context. Now, National Mission Clean Ganga has played a significant role to reduce pollution and ensure sustainable water use in the Ganga and its tributaries, right? So we started with Ganga and we are now dealing with Ganga and its tributaries, and ministry is also thinking of moving this concept of what we learned in Ganga to other rivers also. We are planning to have 5 more rivers in the same way as we have done for Ganga, right? So water is one of the most important factor as far as development is concerned, and we need to ensure that there is a sustainability as far as the water usage and water footprints is concerned, right? Sustainability forms the cornerstone of the water management. Sustainable water management is paramount considering the strain on resources and potential long-term consequences of overexploitation. Sustainable practices would involve striking a balance between water demand and supply, ensuring water quality, optimizing water consumption, implementing technologies that promote efficient water use, and reducing wastewater and effluent discharge. Right. So this is something which we need to do for sustainability, and mind you, we also need public awareness and education in this, because that is going to play a pivotal role in fostering the sustainable water consumption habits. Right. So resilience in the context of urban water footprints would involve developing strategies to mitigate the impact of water scarcity, pollution, and climate change, implementing efficient water infrastructure, promoting rainwater harvesting, and enhancing water treatment and facilities as a key step towards resilience. Now, I don't know whether you have heard or not, but the Director General of National Mission for Clean Ganga is called the Rain Man, because he has developed so many concepts and he has promoted rainwater harvesting in a big way, and he has been championing this cause for quite some time and has tried to ensure that this water conservation and water management becomes a kind of a key factor as far as the development process is concerned. We need to plan development in such a manner that it is focused on water centric. And because water is going to be scarce, and water is going to be one of the most important factor driving the economic growth and driving the well-being of of any nation, city, or for that matter municipality. Whatever way we are looking and whatever is the size of the thing we are looking, water would be a kind of a focus of the development. Then another very important aspect which this dialogue is initiating is the valuation, because we need to focus on the economy of it in the context of urban water footprints, considering the overall impact of water consumption, wastewater discharge, and indirect uses through goods and services, and associated environmental costs should be the focus when we are considering any project. Like, as we were chatting just before the session began, we have been talking about carbon footprints. The carbon footprints have been in focus for quite some time. Now it's time that we look at the water footprint, and we need to see that the water is the center for the when we are planning the development. It should not happen that in our excessive zeal for developing and excessive zeal towards urbanization, we are kind of losing focus on the management of water and this issue related to sustainability and resilience related to water. In fact, recently we have initiated another a plan where we have tried to address this Ram Ganga River Basin Management Plan. So in that, we have tried to identify what are the key water management issues. And then based on those issues, we have tried to identify what are the risk factors, and then what would be the program of measures which can be conducted to mitigate those risks. So it's actually a very scientific discipline, and we need to utilize and we need to develop this aspect, and we need to focus on using I would say the water as a focus for any development initiative. Right now, let's discuss the role of National Mission for Clean Ganga in this managing urban water footprints. National Mission for Clean Ganga is an initiative by the Government of India, as you all know, and it strives to rejuvenate the Ganga and its tributaries by reducing pollution and promoting sustainable water management practices. NMCG directly contributes to improving the urban water footprints. Now, when NMCG was introduced, National Mission for Clean Ganga, initial was to clean the river, but now it has kind of expanded to restore its entire riverine ecosystem. Namami Ganga is premised on 5 important pillars: Nirmal Ganga, which is basically unpolluted river; Aviral Ganga, where we need to ensure unrestricted flow; Jan Ganga, where we are ensuring people's participation; and Gyan Ganga, where we are kind of developing knowledge and research-based interventions; and then Earth Ganga is People River Connect, and through which we are trying to bridge the economy. NMCG, we have already initiated around 193 projects, which are worth 30,797 crores for rehabilitating the kind of sewerage treatment capacity and trying to ensure that the polluted stretches are minimized as far as the Ganga is concerned. And before the water actually flows into the river, we are trying to ensure that it is treated and the water quality is brought to a sustainable limit. The cumulative treatment capacity which is planned to being developed is 6,039 million liters per day, and we are also planning to lay a sewerage network of 5,251 kilometers. So basically, through this, we are trying to ensure that the pollution, the main aspect, the footprint, when we talk about the footprint or the urban footprint, it's basically the total fresh water consumption, and out of that consumption, how much you are going to discharge as a kind of a wastewater. Now this, if we are able to recycle this wastewater and bring it again to in a consumable manner, that is the way we are trying to reduce the footprint of urbanization. Because when we move for any urban development, obviously the water is the focus of that development. And as I have already mentioned, that we have also gone for River City Alliance. Now, this River City Alliance, we are trying to develop urban river management plan, where the focus would be that we are able to create a proper river management plan and ensure that the health of the urban river is kept in a good condition. And there are different factors. We have tried to group it into three components: the social, the environmental, and economic, and try to ensure that all these factors are addressed when we are planning the urban river management. And we have tried to link this with the smart city development, because when we are planning the development of the cities, and then water should be the focus of the development process. And that is why we have partnered with the National Institute of Urban Affairs in developing this, what we call URMP, Urban River Management Plan. And we have already kind of developed URMP for three cities. One is Kanpur, then Ayodhya, and third is Aurangabad. So we have already developed urban river management plan, and we are planning to develop 60 more URMP along with the assistance with the World Bank. So we are trying to ensure that the river and the development, the health of the river and the development are not, I would say, contradicting each other, but there is a synergic relationship. Water is supporting the development, and the development ensures that the water is not polluted. So we are trying to ensure that this alliance happens, right? So this is one area where NMCG is working very closely, and I think we are going to launch it internationally in a big way in coming days, so that this River City Alliance becomes international. It's not limited to within India itself, but it moves global. Then another very important area is biodiversity conservation, where we have tried to ensure that the major carps and the hilsa fishes and the vegetation and the species which are there are kind of preserved in that basin, and dolphins and turtles and other aquatic creatures who are part of that system come and are preserved and can live sustainably there. Then we are also planning scientific afforestation. 30,000 hectares, more than 30,000 hectares has been covered under this. Then we have also tried to ensure that the polluted stretches are reduced to minimum. Initially, I think there are different levels, level 1 to level 5, where level 1 is the most polluted stretch, and the level 5 is what is desirable. And definitely with this intervention by NMCG, we have moved to level 5 in many stretches, which we can kind of tell as we move. When we go for detailed dialogue, we can kind of present that aspect, and we can dwell further on that. Then another very important aspect is industrial pollution abatement. We have tried to ensure that the annual inspection of grossly polluting industries by expert institutions, online monitoring, process improvement, sanction of common effluent treatment plan, and creation of center of excellence. So all these initiatives have tried to ensure that the industrial pollution is kept within the sustainable limit and is checked before it is discharged in the river. So that's another very important area which we have developed and which we are focusing on. Then if we talk about valuation related intervention under Namami Gange program, then we have tried to adopt innovations for long-term sustainability of assets, hybrid annuity model. Now, we are creating assets. Now, assets are, if the asset which has been created is not being properly maintained, then there is no use of that asset. So we have tried to introduce a model where the creation of the asset and the maintenance of the asset is linked, so that there is an incentive, economic incentive, to maintain the asset over a period of time, and we are able to treat the water for a substantial time period, because we had found in many cases STPs have been created but they were not functional. So and they were not maintained, because the major capital cost has already been taken by the contractor. So they were not worried about the O&M cost, because that was a very small component. So now through this hybrid annuity model, we have tried to ensure this, that the major component of the maintenance is addressed through this hybrid annuity model, where the capital cost is only 60%, and initially the upfront we are giving only the 40% part, and the 60% of the capital cost and the O&M cost is distributed throughout the life cycle of the project. So in this way, the economic incentive is for long term. I would say the maintenance and the asset is kept in a good condition. Then we are focusing on 100% reuse of treated wastewater in Ganga Basin. We have tried to ensure zero untreated sewage flow in the Ganga Basin. We have tried to ensure that stringent world-class water quality standards are being maintained, because like the BOD, the DO, and the pH levels, we are trying to ensure that whatever is the guidance, whatever is the norm, we are trying to ensure that it is kept within that. In fact, BOD has now been reduced from 30 to now we are focusing on 10, that it should be brought to that level. Now, encouraging, we have this entirely financing by the government is not sustainable, so we have tried to go for public-private partnership, and we are encouraging private participation in wastewater treatment by going through various type of operators, developing various types of models for public-private partnership. The two models which we are already operating is, one is DBOT, design, build, operate, and transfer, and the second, as I mentioned, hybrid annuity model. So I think this is just this was just a kind of summarizing what we are doing. There are many more activities which we are planning, and I think I have already exceeded the time allocated to me as per schedule, and try to cover the topic with trying to relate what NMCG is doing and what NMCG plans to do in future. So I think I would stop here my initial remark. If anybody has any comment, I can address that. Otherwise, we can move ahead. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, sir. Really for a wonderful presentation and a short brief you have done through your presentation of the role of NMCG as well. And I would like to share my experience that as I have connected NMCG from the very beginning of our institution, and I saw, and whenever I have connected, I also try to bring through our platform basically to promote the initiatives of government of India in front of the world. So that we are from connecting with the international connectivity. And also you mentioned about one point, that is the economic incentives. And so in case of, I just wanted to ask one question, that in case of urban water footprint or that kind of related issues, so is there any concept has designed particularly NMCG for water financing system generation?
See, this URMP, which is coming, Urban River Management Plan, we have partnered with bank, and bank has almost informally, this is not yet formal, but they have informally committed $1 billion for creation of these URMP and taking this River City Alliance further. Still, it's not in the nascent stage, and we are working on it, but it's something which is coming up in a big way. So that's one area which we are working on. Second, as I mentioned, that Ram Ganga Basin Management Plan we have developed. There are around 155 interventions which are required for ensuring the health of that river. and we have tried to identify different stakeholders who would be responsible for implementing and taking what initiatives, and those responsibilities we are trying to fix. So that initial plan has been developed, and I think we are also working on the economic potential of the river, like the earth Ganga, the ecotourism, the natural farming. So we are focusing on those things in a big way, so that we are able to kind of put that river connect with the economic aspect of it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yeah, Kankana Bala, please.
Yeah.
If anybody have any queries, then please
I
ask.
have a question to sir.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sir, that is, as you mentioned that the BOD, pH and other geochemical parameter is being tested over the Ganga River basin, and you are talking about the online monitoring systems. So can I know how the online monitoring system is installed over this basin? Because during my PhD, my professor has worked the sensors. They're making some sensors over the basins that they can get some data online through the VSAT technology.
So it's exactly the same way. The sensors have been installed at the entry of the inlet of the STP, and the sensors have been installed at the outlet, that the final treated water when it goes out. And it's a kind of a real time, because see, the sensor, you would know that the sensor, the quality which sensor tells may not be 100% accurate.
No.
Because if you test in lab, it takes around 5 days to get the test data and get the complete information about it. But as of now, but it is still an indicative indicator of the water quality. So those sensors are being installed at the input and at the outlet, and we have this portal Ganga Tarang, where these feeds are coming on a real-time basis. Still, we are stabilizing the system, but from around 70 odd STPs, we are getting feed on a real-time basis, that what is the inlet water quality, what is the outlet water quality, and that also is a proof that STP is working.
Yes.
Because if the inlet water quality and the outlet water quality, there is a difference, that you had a 150 or 100 BOD, and then you have treated it and it comes down to 30 or 20, then that STP is working. So it works both ways. It tells the water quality, and it also kind of gives us an assurance that the asset which has been created is functional.
And sir, are they able to detect the several metals, heavy metals, and other organics, or other the parameters?
Yeah, I think there are six or seven parameters. This TSS and pH, BOD, COD.
These are the water quality parameter. I'm talking about the heavy metals. Heavy metals are very much crucial in the Ganga River basin pollution. So I'm working on that. several rivers. So
I would need to check, because I don't have the list of parameters. I saw those there were 7 parameters, but I exactly don't remember each one of them. So maybe with that we can tell offline, because sometimes I would invite you. There is this Prayag portal which is there in NMCG. You can come and see that. It's a kind of a real-time monitoring, and now we are also trying to kind of go for a monitoring where we will have CCTVs installed in all the STPs, so that we get a real-time feed how the CCTV, how the STP is functioning, so that we are having a physical monitoring of the asset as well.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So after this discussion, I would like to invite Mr. Ajitav Sharma, Chairman and MD, Jaipur City Transport Services Limited, Government of Rajasthan. Please, sir, share with us about your views regarding this matter.
Yeah, okay. Kankana, thank you so much, and thank you, Bishwajit ji. It was very nice listening to Nalin ji. And in fact, I was also not knowing so much that what exactly is being done in Namagni Gange. What people normally understand is only about cleaning the river and putting up the STP plants and treating the water, and if possible, reuse that water or then discharge the treated water into the river. Very nice information you have provided. So what I would be speaking, like what we discussed, Vishwajit ji, on phone also, regarding this, your whole idea of how to develop this concept of water footprint from the implementation point of view, I have few things where, so I'll try to focus what I speak on 2-3 important aspects. Number one is like human species live in a kind of balance with its biophysical environment. So why water footprint is important or why it is critical. And as we know that as of now in India, hardly anything has been done when we talk about the concept of water footprint or using the concept of water footprint analysis, maybe material flow analysis or life cycle analysis when we talk about water footprint in terms of influencing the policy and the decisions which are being taken. So in a way, it is an entirely new subject when we talk about it as being a kind of policy prescription or policy framework, but why it is important. So human species lives in a kind of balance with biophysical environment, which is part of biotic and abiotic. So abiotic is like air, water, atmosphere, and land. And somehow this abiotic part is also very, very critical for sustenance of human existence on our planet. And water is one very important and critical component. Again, land. When I speak land, I mean all like water bodies and mountains and forests and everything. Land is also one very critical component. And these are part of abiotic environment. So, and the very peculiar characteristic of these 3 elements like air, water, and land is that they are limited. So we cannot produce water, we cannot produce more land, we cannot produce more oxygen to the extent that it changes the percentage share in the whole atmosphere or the air surrounding us. So these are limited, but there is a balance which has made human survival possible on planet Earth for more than millions and millions of years. And another peculiar characteristic of water is that it is spatially and temporally distributed. So how the ecosystem functions, like in my state, Rajasthan, in western part, you will not find any water because most part is Thar desert. But when you go down to the north, like the down part, like if you go to the districts of Banswara or Dungarpur, then Mahi river basin is there. And if you go to the eastern part, then Chambal river basin is there. So it is, and temporally and spatially water is distributed. But water security is a regional issue. It is always a regional issue. When we talk about water security, we talk about regional water security. There is scarcity of water in this X district, or there is scarcity of water for that particular city, or scarcity of water in particular basin. It is always very regional. And when we talk about sustainable water management, that issue is regional. Third part is that with the changing lifestyles and the manner in which the supply chains are working and the subnational or national or international trade patterns are changing or evolving, consumption and production, they are also getting entirely disaggregated. Disaggregated in the sense that most of the consumption of products and services, it is happening in the urban areas, as we discussed when we were having this webinar around a week ago on waste management. So most of the consumption is happening in urban areas. And because of this aspect, production is happening somewhere else where a lot of water is needed, and mostly in the agriculture produce. Water is spatially and temporally distributed. It is not available where the consumption is happening. And this is the reason that the hydrologic balance, which has existed for last more than millions and millions of years ago, it is not able to cater to our needs of water requirement. So that is the place and point where the water footprint issue becomes very important, critical, and particularly when we talk about urban water security for any city, it becomes very important, because like to feed a city of like 2 crores of population or more than 1 crore of population, the food has to be imported from outside. Maybe domestically it has to be imported from other states, or maybe from other countries it has to be imported. Like India has been exporting rice and other food products to other countries. So the whole point is that there is a time not very far off, I think in another period of 10 or 15 years, like as what we see for oil. The oil as a resource is also distributed geographically by nature, like water. But the requirement of oil is across the globe for all countries, more so for the urban areas for different purposes and reasons. How that oil is transported or products based on oil are transported, it has to be managed. Likewise for water, water can become a new oil, because as we know that it is getting scarcer and scarcer by the day. So within a period of 10 years, so when we talk about water footprint, my only point is that it is very important if the government or the policy makers talk about regional water security or water security as such for whole of the country, then it will be very difficult for us to come out with efficient and effective and sustainable policies without thinking about water footprint. And now coming directly to the problem area. The problem area is that as of now, I don't know, like what Nalinji was mentioning while he was speaking, that where exactly this concept or framework for implementing the policy related to water footprint assessment or analysis or evaluation should be housed. I don't know if the Namami Gange project is the right place or not, but certainly it is going to come into the Ministry of Water Resources, but how it has to be housed, because there are certain countries which have created a kind of like water footprint lab or water footprint center. So unless we create such kind of water footprint lab or center or some kind of foundation or forum which is housed properly and independently in some ministry, because it is a very complex subject, as I had written in my post also, because it is not only about, like I read a very interesting line that when we talk about water footprint analysis, we mostly start talking about the shoe sizes and not the footprint. So by shoe sizes, that article meant that we mostly talk about the volume, like how much volume of water we are importing, like while importing nuts, maybe from another country, or how much water in terms of volume we are exporting to Iran or the Middle Eastern countries when we export basmati rice to them. So that is a very limited perspective. It is not about shoe sizes. It is about footprint, actual impact that trade in virtual water is creating, or the actual dependence on trade in virtual water in terms of trade in products or services we are dependent upon. Because the topic of today's conference has very subtly mentioned about the issues of valuation, resilience, and sustainability. So when we talk about sustainability, the point is that how much dependent we are on the water footprint, because it has got deep socio-economic and environmental ramifications, as we are talking about the, like if, so I was reading a study where it mentioned that like if cocoa or coffee or like livestock products, if I am importing, if country A is importing from country B, then what kind of implications it has? So it has implications on that whether the exporting country is already water scarce, and if it is water scarce, then it is supporting kind of luxurious lifestyles of country A only for the reason or merely because of the reason that the importing country is rich. So if the products and services or the water in terms of shoe size, the volume of water is being exported from A to B, then the actual impact this export or transfer of virtual water is causing on country A, the exporting country, is the footprint. So how it is, and if it is a country which is water scarce, if it is a country which is food insecure, because there are studies that it is happening. Certain African countries, which have serious problems of malnutrition and stunted growth are not growing their staple crops. Rather, a lot of volume of the water is going into producing the food items which are related to luxurious lifestyles and are exported out. So now the footprint is that exporting country is getting severely impacted. So now this we are talking about exports. And when we talk about importing countries, the point is that how much dependent we are, on that imports from that particular country. Because if water security becomes an issue in the exporting country, maybe after a span of 3 or 4, 5 years, if there is a policy change in terms of water allocation, if the country decides that no, the whole set of old water compacts are being extinguished, and this is the new pattern on which the water reallocation would be made, and it is already happening. Like we are having dispute regarding Kaveri river sharing. So if there is some kind of change of allocation and there is some product on which like the state of Rajasthan or UP is dependent, which is based on the availability of water in that particular Kaveri river basin belt, then my supply chains get impacted and my consumption patterns would get impacted or affected, which may cause like increase in prices. So this is how the whole concept of water footprint. So we do not know as of now. So I was just searching when I had discussion with Biswajit ji. I could only lay hands on one research paper which was written for Delhi water footprint analysis. There is nothing available in the domain. I searched for around 2 and 3 hours. There was only this one paper, and that is a comparative study of like one city in Germany, Delhi in India, and one city in Africa. So it compared very well that what all is happening in terms of water footprint, and it analyzed it very well. So the point comes is that once we are able to, so setting up of a lab or a kind of center where it is housed and how this analysis would be done. Because the point is that as of now, we do not have enough or sufficient data. Because when we talk about like doing a water footprint analysis for city of Mumbai or Bangalore for that matter, then it is not only the volumetric data which is needed in terms of water for the water sector. Then we require a lot of trade related data, the socio-economic indicators, the areas from where the products are being imported, what is the water scarcity situation in those areas, may it be within our country or may it be from outside our country. That mammoth data is needed. That is the first part. And second, then we have to also decide about like what is the scale, what is the scope of this footprint analysis, because the more granular we go, the more and more difficult this analysis becomes. So maybe sitting in Delhi in the ministry, sometimes it gives us a very good perspective in terms of the overall scenario for the whole country, that these are the water resources available in terms of the engineering or technical units, and this much is the requirement for different sectors. So this is the scenario. But if we go to a level below, like when we go to the subnational level, then the scenario is something else. When you go to the district level, or if we go to the urban level, then scenario is something else, because then the statistics would be something else. They would be presenting us some different kind of picture. So first thing is to decide that what is the level at which we have to work in this water footprint analysis thing. And I think the urban boundaries are the best locations in terms of doing this analysis. And after that, the accounting methodology, it is not available anywhere. It is not available. How the actual, because then there are a lot of data analysis related issues, then there must be a lot of mathematics, and for how long a period like you are wanting to do the footprint analysis. Like if there is a business, and if business as an enterprise is considering the enterprise risk management issue for a period of like 3 or 5 years, so then it would be doing the water footprint analysis. Say for example, Coca-Cola, if its survival or its value chain or supply chain is deeply connected to the availability of water from where they are sourcing it, so then maybe they will do it for 5 years, or maybe max 7 or 10 years in terms of the kind of capital investment, their payback period, whatever it is. So for a business entity, the time horizon would be different for this analysis. And when we talk about urban water security as a whole, as Nalinji very rightly mentioned, because And I always argue that, okay, it is all right that if we are not able to price water properly, let us value it properly. So the valuation of water, let us value it economically in a right sense, so that we stop wastages and water is reallocated in right amounts for the economic development and growth of the country. So that also becomes an essential part of water footprint analysis. Then ultimately, if we do it like enterprise would be doing it in a different manner, a municipality would be doing it in a different manner. And like if an organization like Namami Gange is talking about water footprint, then maybe the river basin would be the boundary for them. It may be spanning like across maybe 30, 40 districts or so, maybe 4, 5 states. So the water footprint analysis methodology or the manual which this lab or center will have to be developed, so that will also have to be very specifically characterized. If it is urban area, then those methodologies and assessment manuals would be of entirely different kind, because accounting becomes very important when we talk about water footprint. Another very important thing was like this sustainability related issues, because like as I mentioned before also, from where we are sourcing the water. So like if some part of the state of Rajasthan, like or some part of UP, it is already water scarce. Like it is perhaps, I think, happening in some, it has started already reflecting on the ecosystem in Pakistan. I was reading somewhere, like the area is becoming water scarce because of the increase in urban and agriculture activities, but still a lot of cotton is grown and it is exported out. So the staple food crop requirement of water for local consumption of those food crops or food security, it is getting impacted because it is one of the competing sectors. So now it is up to the policymakers, when this water footprint analysis is done and completed, now it will influence the policy decisions. Okay, now what do you want? So that is the whole idea. The idea of sustainability, because then it will be having the color of the social equity and environmental requirement. And then we can say like how much water from river Ganga can be apportioned for different economic activities in different districts or different parts of the number of states through which river Ganga flows. Then it has to be decided, because now minimum environmental flow has also become one of the issues. So, and it has already started happening in a lot of river basins, that because of over extraction for production of food crops, the rivers are getting dried up. And for the food crops, the majority of which is exported out. We have seen that how our sugarcane belt and rice and wheat belt has got changed in due course of last 30, 40 years. So water footprint analysis, when done in the right context, in the pre-defined boundaries which we are considering, it can be a good policy tool. It can be an excellent policy tool for the policymakers who are sitting in the government, like people like us and Nalinji and our bosses, that how ultimately it has to be reallocated. What are our priorities? And if sustainability is one of the component, then certainly there would be a number of issues which would come up. Another point was like, again, like I always like this thing, lifestyle change. So the dietary habits, what are the dietary habits? So that have a very deep implication on the water footprints for any city. So it has to be, like we know that in India, more than roughly around 80% of water resources is used for agriculture purposes. 80% of the water goes in agriculture purposes. So even if we are able to do this footprint analysis, depending on the dietary habits and patterns and lifestyle patterns, so I think we have taken care of majority of the part. Even if we forget about the industrial and commercial consumption of water or domestic consumption, in totality, it is roughly around only 20%. And there are studies that if done right, water footprint analysis on material flow analysis basis, then it can at times save at least 40% of the volume of water. So our problem in that way is solved. So water footprint analysis would tell you that it is not even necessary to treat all water all sewage water. So fit for purpose kind of thing, maybe the analysis can come out with a kind of conclusion that, okay, do not make Ganga entirely clean. Make it clean only up to that particular level, which is already part of Namami Gange project, and then discharge this much amount of water. Let it, what we call the gray water footprint, because then blue and green, I am not going into those technical terms. So it will give us a very good idea where to invest money, how to invest money, and up to what extent. It gives us a very good tool how to optimize our investments also subsequently. So that is why it becomes very important. But again, it is a kind of ticklish subject. And how we go ahead with it, what are the priorities of the government, ultimately, what is the whole idea, whether it is food security or overall economic development, what is the time horizon which we see for this footprint analysis. But we have to come out with a good set of manuals, how the assessment will be done, how the accounting will have to be done. Lot of trainings would be needed. We will have to create resource persons, or we'll have to create like kind of expert capacity, maybe in private institutes or universities. Government can support it, and we can take up 3 or 4 cities which are facing regional water security issues, which we think that would be very difficult to manage water sustainably in a period of another like 5 to 10 years. They can be taken up on top priority, and then they can be the guiding beacon that how we can take it further ahead, because there is no cut and dried kind of prescription which can come up when we talk about water footprint analysis. Maybe we can say that only we'll do 30 or 40% part of the overall concept, but then it can serve our 90 or maybe more than 90% of the water challenges which we face. If it can address that, the whole point is about prioritizing the action points. So I would stop here only, and if there are any further points which come up later, then we can further discuss it in detail. Thank you, Vishnuji.
Thank you so much, sir, for your nice word and your planning, your views in this important issue. And we'll take the questions after this session. Please ask to all of you. I'm requesting to all of you to have questions after the sessions. Okay. So our next speaker is Mr. Amitabh Pal, Director General, Kolkata Municipal Corporation. But unfortunately, he is not present here due to his another assignment. So I will move to the next speaker, Dr. Ramnath Sonawane, Secretary Maharashtra Water Resource Regulatory Authority, Maharashtra. Please, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon. Am I audible and visible?
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. And thank you, Vishwajit, and thank you, SAIARD, for giving me this opportunity to interact with you. First of all, when we talk about water security, the point that I would like to make clear is, you see, a person who actually uses water, a citizen, is not at all aware what water footprint is. To some extent, now people are aware of carbon footprint and carbon credit, but a person, a citizen who is the end user of water is not at all aware what water footprint is. You see, whether he's a literate person or illiterate person, you ask him a question, how much water do you consume? And his reply will be to the tune of 1.5 liter to 2 liters a day. Then ask him one more question, how much water do you use for brushing? He will add 1 more liter. Go on asking him questions. He will add on going on water used for bathing, water used for cleaning of clothes, water used for even gardening, the plants around his house. So at the most, he will come to the conclusion that from a local body, if he is a citizen of rural area, he will say, I get 70 liters a day. If he is a citizen of urban area, he will say, I use 135 or 140 liters a day. So that is all that he knows about his consumption, the quantity that he consumes of water. Then you ask him one more question. How many members are there in the family? So the reply might be 4 to 5. And then he will multiply it by 140 and say the family consumes this much water. But then ask him another question. Okay, do you eat rice and how much rice do you eat? And do you know how much quantity of water that is required to produce 1 kg of rice or 1 kg of sugar? Then he will say, for 1 kg of rice, I need only 1.2 liters of water to be added in 1 kg of rice. So that at the most, he will say, for 1 kg of rice, we need 1.2 liters of water. He is not aware that for producing 1 kg of rice, we need near about 3,000 to 5,000 liters of water. Hardly some people working in either water resource department or agriculture department, they will be aware of the quantity of water that is consumed. Whether he is an individual or a community or a business entity or an industrial entity, the entire quantity of water which is potable ultimately goes to a citizen, a person who consumes it. Even if he is watering the plant, you see the plant generates oxygen. So whatever water that is used for generation of oxygen is also to be accounted for when we talk about water footprint. And that is what is meant by water footprint. When we talk about urban water footprint, whether it is urban or rural, I do not actually distinguish between urban water footprint and rural water footprint. All that is required is the awareness which is required to be created in each individual, that he is not using only 135 or 140 liters in a day. For him, for his existence, daily or even monthly or annually, if we actually quantify the quantity of water that is used, it is huge. And then ask him to calculate the cost of water on the basis of, just in comparison, as Ajitab sir rightly said, Coca-Cola. So do you know how much water is there in a bottle of Coca-Cola? 90% liquid that is in that bottle of 300 ml is water. But that 95% does not mean that in 1 liter of Coca-Cola, there is only 950 liters of 150 ml of water. For Coca-Cola, production of Coca-Cola, whatever sugar that you require, what are the other ingredients that you require, they also require huge quantity of water. 1 kg of sugar requires 5,000 liters of water. Even 1 liter of ethanol requires 15 liters of water during this process. This process of fermentation, the process of distillation requires water. So the water required for agriculture, water required for industrial purpose, everything that ultimately goes to a citizen. So the entire potable water has to be quantified in terms of the value. And when we talk about value, our people, right from ancient civilization, they are aware of value of water. That's why we have equated water with life. But when it comes in terms of money, when it comes to water pricing, our people are not at all aware. They still believe that water is quite costly. When they purchase one bottle of Coca-Cola 300 ml for 10 rupees, they do not mind paying 10 rupees to Coca-Cola. But when we ask them to pay 10 paisa for 1 liter of water which is supplied by municipal corporation or a local body, then they resist, because they believe it is very costly. Because it is available for them, it is available in rivers, it is available in lakes, it is available in water bodies, and they believe that they do not, government doesn't have to spend anything for that. But what is water footprint? When we talk about water footprint, then we have to actually calculate the cost of water that is required to store it, that is required for storage of water, that is construction of dams, then the cost of water that is required for distribution system, and when ultimately it goes to the end user. And for that matter, I would say that the most important thing required is to create an awareness amongst the water users, maybe individual or other communities. But we need to create this kind of awareness that you are under impression that water is free because it is a natural resource and rain god gives it us. Yes, rain god does give us water, but it requires huge amount of efforts and capital investment and revenue investment so as to you get clean potable drinking water which you claim to be your fundamental right. Or that is another different topic to be discussed. But I would say that when we discuss about water footprints, these things need to be considered, and that a person who consumes water has to be made aware that you do not consume only 2 liters in a day or 140 liters in a day. You consume much more, and government has to spend much more on that. And more important, it's not only what you consume, then what you send back in the system in a polluted form also requires huge amount of investment, and that's why that cost has to be calculated in totality. And the damage that is caused due to pollution, water pollution to the environment has also to be calculated. Not only cost of restoration of water, that is treatment of wastewater to potable water quality, but the environmental damage it costs, maybe groundwater pollution and other things. So I think this subject is not limited only to what water footprint is. It is much more. And though Jal Shakti Ministry has been taking lot of efforts, but still in India, still at a local level or at state level or national level, the efforts required actually to make people aware the value of water is, I think, lacking. And this is where we need to focus. I think if this kind of deliberation, this kind of forum, if really prepares some document, sensitizes the policymakers, that is very much required. Just policymakers, it's not that the policymakers are not aware. They are aware, but they are busy in some other matters, and for them this is a matter of least priority. So we have to make them understand that this is a matter of important priority, and this should be in fact the first priority, because the very existence of human civilization depends upon food, water and energy. Thank you. I do not have to add anything else. Thank you, Biswajit ji. And I think you will kindly allow me to leave. As I think I have stipulated to my time frame, and as promised to you, I made myself available today. Thanks a lot. If there is any question, then let me know. I will answer them. But through telephone or through email, I will always be available to interact with people. Bhakti Devi knows me very well. So she may contact me whenever it is required. And if at all you want my contribution in such kind of deliberations in future, I'll be very much happy to be a part of this think tank. Thanks a lot.
Sir, before you leave, I would like to congratulate you and thanks to you for your valuable points you have pointed out. And we are, as I mentioned, that on behalf of SAIARD, we are looking forward to start this kind of dialogue in different city level dialogue also. And Bhakti Devi has joined right now as a water division sector of SAIARD. So we are looking forward to work on that, and hopefully in coming up your city also, we are also planning, and we will discuss definitely.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'm extremely sorry, I really cannot continue, but
No problem.
No, you have already mentioned, yeah. No issue. So, but thanks for joining.
Yes,
Thank you.
Yeah, Kankanji, please. Kankana ma'am, over to you. Yeah. I think some network issues. Okay, so let me introduce another speaker. Mr. Saurabh Das Patnaik, MD of Swachh Environment Private Limited. So Saurabh is working since a long time in water sector and as an industry expert as well. So I'll request Saurabh ji to please share your viewpoints through this platform.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, yes, yes. I was muted. I'm so sorry.
No
I'm
issue.
very
No.
sorry.
I already invited Saurabh ji. So Saurabh ji, please continue. Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Roy Chaudhary, and thank you to SAIARD for having invited to speak from the private sector as a water utility provider in India. One of the very few people, a few companies which provide end-to-end water solutions and provide the municipal water and wastewater solutions in India. So I think this urban water footprint and its economic aspect, the resilience aspect, and the future viability aspect is extremely important. I think there's a short presentation just to keep some of the points which have been highlighted. If somebody can do the presentation slides, it will be really nice on the slideshow basis.
Yeah, it has already been presented.
Yeah,
Our
but
team already been
it's
presented.
not on slides. It's not on slideshow. I think they will not be in a
Yeah, you
position to.
please, Anisha, please do that in the slideshow.
On the slideshow, it will be better off because then the speakers
Yeah.
section will go down and it will be the main slides which will be visible. But anyway, coming back to what what would you like to say? The entire water, whatever is available in this earth, has been there in this Mother Earth in different forms, pure or impure. But today also the water extent is essentially the same. However, the way the water is used in the last 150 years, post-industrialization, and now the stress which is actually burning now is actually creating the maximum problem. Now, getting back to the statistics of India's story for water stress, all of us are familiar. And if you see the map of India, this map you must have been seeing everywhere, every conference. A large portion of the world is blue, and there is a lot of fresh water available. In India, the problem is the fresh water availability, whether it's coming through the ground sources or to the surface sources, is extremely limited. And as you know, most of us, the agriculture is the largest consumption of water, whether it is through the river or groundwater. And that's one of the biggest challenges which we will face today. If agriculture keeps on drawing water apart from the rain and the groundwater, there would be a serious challenge going forward to our sustainability of our villages and the urban cities. Now, going back to the next slide, you will see that the India story, water is a subject. Water is a state subject. It's a concurrent subject as far as the rivers are concerned. The state is providing the last mile water supply to each and every person. That is what their fundamental rights are. And the ambitious projects which are being now laid out by the Honorable Prime Minister, the Namami Gange, which is one of the first of its kind for completely the river rejuvenation of Ganges, as Mr. Srivastav ji also mentioned, and the tributaries also, and then the Jal Jeevan mission, both urban, which is under Amrut now, and the Jal Jeevan rural mission, which is being kicked off in a big way across all the states. So, but one thing I must tell you and flag for everybody is the water mostly today is being serviced by the local ULBs, either by the ULBs or the municipalities. Even the Jal Jeevan mission is talking about supplying through the panchayat. Now, everything is fine. Water uses a huge infrastructure. We talk about minimum 135 LPCD as has been provided under the guidelines. Most of our urban cities are hovering around 40, 45, 30, even sometimes 30, 35, 40. So if 45 is the median LPCD available in our urban cities, and we're talking 135, forget about the developed countries like US and Canada and European unions, where water 300, 350, even 400 like US is being talked about. we will be, as it is, we are stopped. We are not able to, relate to that. So going forward to the next slide, if you look at it, India's water demand, the way it is growing, it is kept on growing in the urban sector. Now, the drinking water scheme and the wastewater both are related. The more the drinking water facilities you provide, in fact, today, if you see in Delhi, our honorable speaker mentioned in the past that Delhi, only 45-50% of our Delhi is being serviced through pipe water connection, and sewerage water connection is further lower. So if you see, assuming that Delhi city entire population is there, more than around 12 million to 13 million population. Some of them are in the urban sprawl, Jhuggi Jhopdis. Only about 50 to 60% people are connected to the pipeline. Balance are taking the borehole. But out of that, the sewerage network availability also in Delhi is very limited, 40%, and that is the capital city. Forget about the other cities. Now, in a situation like this, what are we going to talk about? How are we going to address the challenge which is currently being addressed by the government, and is it really good enough to take a holistic view? One of the important points which our honorable esteemed speakers mentioned about the value of water. The value of water is derived from the way it is used, the way it is produced, and the way it is recycled. Now, people are talking about a Coca-Cola example that Mr. Sonwane mentioned. Yes, now the issue which we are talking about, when you produce water, like we are a water utility. We take the water from the Ganges or Hooghly or wherever, the Jamuna, and then we take through the water treatment plant. We do the entire treatment. We purify the water cycle, send it to the pipeline, from the main pipeline to the distribution pipeline to the peripheral pipeline, and finally the last mile pipeline from 2000 dia to say 30 dia, 25 dia into the individual household. How much of energy we are spending? Have we ever related that our Electricity Act, which is in 25 years back, electricity states have done the modernization and the diversification, unbundling of the power sector. There is the reform to the power sector. Today, we would like to say 30 to 35% of our power cost, our water cost is power, variable cost. Now, if water cost today in a city like Mahanagar, in Bombay, is the way the customers are getting, or say in Delhi, around 20 rupees per KL, almost 35% or 40% of the cost of water is power cost, assuming power cost and dependent states are having 9 rupees, 8 rupees like that per unit. So 35% of the cost of distributing the water to your house is actually the power cost. Second important point is the non-revenue water. In our urban cities, irrespective of those cities, I can tell you the average figures from the bad to worse, from good to bad, is from a good city could be 25-26%, and any average city is about 35-37%. And the figures in Delhi, because we are a water utility working in the PPP framework under hybrid annuity scheme, the Delhi Jal Board, in certain areas like Nangloi, it could be as high as 54-56%. Certain areas are 35-36%. So there is a significant. When we took over the entire concession of the Nangloi Najafgarh area, the NRW was 70%. That means every kiloliter, 100 kiloliter you are producing, 68 kiloliter is getting wasted on non-revenue water, not being billed, theft, pilferage, wastage. And then only that balance availability is there. Today, at least some improvement is there, but it is not at all good improvement. So what is important is today how the pricing of water is there, and I think in certain states have been forward-looking. They have done the regulatory boards. Many states don't have any regulatory board, no tariff mechanism, no benchmark targets to achieve non-revenue water. The other point, if you look at it, the next slide, if you would like to look at it, is the point how Jal Shakti Ministry is looking at in terms of the Jal Shakti, the entire distribution of water, both the urban sector. Now, next slide. Urban water supply, the statistics are shown here. We talked about coverage should be 100%, 135 LPCD, we mentioned about it. But recovery in our cost of recovery is not coming in. When the cost of recovery is not coming in, to put in a huge amount of investments in infrastructure, digital monitoring, online monitoring, extent of metering, extent of non-revenue water, cost recovery is a basic importance. Now, government spends a lot of money in our country. The government is mostly spending money in the capex. What about the OPEX? Who is taking care of the OPEX? How the OPEX is being taken care of? What are the KPIs to our customers? How the revenue appropriation is happening? These are serious problems we are going to face and we are facing currently. We are one of the few players who are providing water in the municipal segment to our individual household. At the same time, we are providing water to the bulk water to the industries like the petrochemical refineries like Indian Oil Corporation or the power plants. And we realize that when we supply to the same water to the industry pays in time. But when we supply to the municipalities are unable to afford to pay even a concessional rate of 3 rupees per KL, whereas the industry is paying 20 rupees a KL. And that is a concession. There's a cross subsidization. But municipal is invariably having outstanding more than crores and crores. So this becomes a problem as to how do you ensure quality supply when people are not willing to pay. That's the biggest bottleneck today. Next slide, please. So in the current trend, I would say in India, if you have to take a policy decision, the states must have a regulatory body to ensure water accountability, water audit, water footprints are measured in terms of volume and quality in cities and rural areas as well. Because Jal Jeevan is going to give a lot of water to the households. How they use the water in the household is going to be another question going forward. Second question, which are going to be asset management. Now, if asset management is an issue, when I invest thousands of crores in asset creation, how do you ensure that we monetize those assets? And how do we ensure that the asset spans the entire lifespan of 30 years, if I had to take it, or more than that? How do you ensure the rejuvenation of those assets? There are large amount of water assets today, both in the urban areas, metro areas, and semi-urban areas like the district towns. Large infrastructure has been built up. But are we able to rejuvenate those assets? What kind of rejuvenation program you have taken up? Under Amrit, there are significant investments. What is the capacity building happening to our municipal engineers? Are they positioned to improve the quality of supply? Are they positioned to improve the water efficiency, energy efficiency of our motors, of our pumps, our systems, the non-revenue water management? How do you increase the tariff mechanism? These are issues which are really going to have an issue. 24/7 in India is actually a myth. Very few cities have really achieved 24/7. Most cities are talking about certain parts, certain district metering areas of the cities are converted to 24/7. I would not say that any metro will have a 24/7 in India, except a few areas which we can talk about 24/7. When I say 24/7, it means the water coming from the treatment plant to the underground reservoir or to the OHR coming back to your house. There is no need for having your sump at your hose and then pumping it to your overhead tank. And then you can drink from the tap. Are we in a position to drink from the tap? Because there's a contamination issue. Water is a pressurized line. Sewerage is a gravity line. So when you maintain pressure in the water line continuously, that becomes an ensuring no contamination arrives. But when you're not able to provide adequate water volume because of NRW as well as losses, then the 45 LPCD or 135 LPCD doesn't make a sense. So that's an issue. A large amount of talking about water is happening on the NRW side and smart water. How do you do the predictability of daytime requirement? Like in a power system, evening requirements go up or morning requirements go up. During the day, the requirements are slightly different. Is there a SCADA system to manage this predictability of the water system? But this is very less. Few metros like Mumbai, I know for sure, is doing a lot of good work. Smaller cities are trying to emulate them, but there is no SCADA system which actually monitors the entire digitally that the water is how the water is being managed across all the pipelines in like your veins of your body. Thank you. After that, I don't think there are too many slides, but I wanted to tell you that this kind of debate and ideas like Manthan of suggestions and ideas have to be there. I have been giving recommendations to the Niti Aayog and to the Finance Ministry with a small appeal as an individual that water should be considered under the priority lending and as an infrastructure. Unfortunately, water is still not considered as infrastructure sector. Water is not considered as a priority lending under the Niti Aayog. Everybody agrees and sympathizes with the water sector. Everybody agrees that water is the life, but in terms of its, importance, in terms of giving it the right support for financing of long-term infrastructure development, water is still not considered by RBI as an infrastructure segment. I'm suffering for this. During the emergency credit lending scheme of the COVID, water sector appealed to the honorable government, to the banking services secretary, that please give ECLGS scheme to the to even the COVID affected. Water was not. Hotel was given, airport was given, many other sectors were given, but water did not get it. Because water municipal engineers like us have to continuously work 24/7. People will never appreciate the amount of work which is being put in to ensure that water reaches your house. But it is taken as a granted. What is taken as a granted is not taken as a value. So we will have to definitely have a tariff mechanism. Whether you want to give the subsidy to the poor people, like in Delhi, if people below 20 KL is free. Now people below above 20 KL has to be charged. So there's a kind of a telescopic mechanism. So direct transfer subsidy can be adopted, but water cannot be given free. Like in our Punjab, today we have been drawing water from the agriculture part, and we have been drawing and drawing and drawing. Today we have a huge issue in Punjab of various diseases which is accruing out of the Punjab, and also the crop pattern. So I think we are sitting on a major time bomb as far as water is concerned in the urban sector, in the rural sector as well. Drawing on rampantly water as if it is available free of cost, very easily available, just draw water, that is not going to happen. And certain parts of Western India, Northern India, and Southern India are privy to the water scarcity. Eastern part of India still have high level of water availability during surface, monsoon, as well as groundwater. But this is also getting hugely affected. And there is no recycling, because water value of recycling is when people are not even able to pay for the basic value of water, then recycling costs money in terms of chemicals, in terms of treatment, in terms of process, in terms of power. It adds to the cost. Who is willing to do it? Only industry may pay for it. I don't think households are going to pay for recycled water. That's the major issue. You may be finding me a bit cynic, but I'm concerned. I'm a realistic. We're dealing and grappling with this on a day-to-day basis. So we feel that huge reforms are required in India. And policy makers, policy implementers, technologists, scientists will have to start a movement on water. What water is absolutely, if you really have to make a difference. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. It's a very excellent, important issues, and I also agree with you. Even
Thank
we
you.
all
Thank
are
you,
agree with important issue, and that is very crucial situations that we all have been going through. And so now I will request to Professor Biswajit Chaudhary so discuss something and want to take.
Yeah, I think some questions have raised from Mr. Fahad Ravi, I think. Fahad Ravi from Bangladesh. Yeah, Fahad, you have raised your hand then. Please ask now. And please share your designation.
Yes, of
Please share
course,
your
of course.
designation.
My name is yes, thank you. Thank you so much. My name is Muhammad Fahad. I'm a young rainwater champion, and I'm working with the SAIARD, Southeast Indian Water Harvest Network. So I actually had a question which has been answered. However, I do believe I have another one which actually raised after hearing Mr. Shurab's discussion. Sir, we have seen, like I'm from Bangladesh, and if I just sort of ask you a contextual question from Bangladesh, like, you know, in Wasa is really trying their hard as much as they can, but because of excessive extraction of groundwater, the groundwater level is depleting. As well as we have another problem is population in our country, and it's raising rapidly, and everybody is sort of scrambling in Dhaka, and climate change is another. So we have thousands of constraining things that are occurring right now. So given all this situation, sir, it's really difficult to for our government to provide adequate water for people, and the water is getting expensive day by day. However, as a climate activist, I do believe that it is also our right. So my question is to you, sir, like how can we balance out this economical dilemma? Thank you.
Okay, in Dhaka and especially in Bangladesh, in Chittagong, WASA is doing a great amount of work. I must compliment some of the 24/7 water initiative and under PPP. WASA is a good example today in Asia, apart from Manila Water in Philippines. Now, coming back to your specific question of rampant extraction is because of three things. The city limits is not well defined. In Dhaka city, as you know, in any other metro city, urban sprawl, like not authorized land is there and people are making houses and canals are being used for defecation and sewerage and sanitation is being openly created. So what is happening is when water is not available through a proper town planning exercise, because most of the water utilities will say that if the house, a domestic unit is dwelling use unit is mapped, then people will get water, and if it is not mapped, then the water is supplied through a fountain. That means a common area where one bulk water supply will be provided, and the people can take water from that side. Now, this is what is happening in Delhi, Bombay, Calcutta. Also, many areas water is not reaching to individual household, and extraction is happening rampantly from groundwater by using the small pumps. Electricity has become reformed because electricity is now available. Even the unorganized jhuggi jhopdi, what they talk about, electricity is available now because of the way the metering is being done by the rapid modernization, but water is not provided. So when we talk about groundwater contamination, there are two things. One is groundwater extraction, another is groundwater contamination. In many areas like Bangladesh and eastern part of India also, if the ground level water is high, there is a contamination because of the fecal sludge and chemical waste and pollution which is happening from the industry, not being properly treated and getting back to the Mother Earth, which is what the problem is. Like, if you see in Calcutta, there's a leather complex called Bantla. Now, if you look at the treatment, there's a ETP, STP, everything is there. But when you see the tributary, which is the drain which is coming out after treatment, and you do a treatment and you after 20 kilometers in the Sundarban, which is connecting the main canal, you will find hard metals. Somebody mentioned about hard metals. So these are problems because we are not wanting to address the issue scientifically. We are only looking at this as an administrative issue, and government cannot individually do that. Individual capacities have to be looked at. Villages' health is getting affected by this contamination water now. Severe amount of health issues are coming up because of the water quality. I think everybody knows about it. WHO knows about it, but implementation is the key. Unfortunately, that is where we are lagging behind, especially where urban areas and huge urban sprawl is coming up. We are unable to deliver those quality of quality which is supposed to be there in any advanced country or even developed countries. I don't have a straight answer to your query in terms of how we can stop extraction, how we can stop contamination in the groundwater.
Thank you.
It's a social problem.
Thank you. I have one queries not queries, just one kind of discussions I would like to continue with Mr. Ajitab Sharma, sir. Sir, you are also mentioning several points through your present dialogues and all that. So I find out some, I noted down some points. That is the water database design, water census design in for particular urban sector. Even as Saurabh sir has mentioned regarding RBI, so shall we go for water currency type, any kind of issues? And lastly, in resource studies, we know that Zimmerman in the year 1951, he has mentioned one concept, that is a phantom pile concept. That is whatever the resource we thought we have, but it's not exactly like that. So what is that kind of part also? So what is your suggestion in case of footprint sector? You have coined several points, but still how we can connect us these concepts, this phantom file concept, and for that, what is, as a administrator, you can suggest the role to continue forward this kind of initiation. I mean, ground level activities, not in dialogue section, but also in ground level portion. Sir, please.
Yeah, okay. So, question was a little bit complicated, but I'll try to be very simple. That, see, I would again, at the cost of repetition, would want to highlight that the foremost thing is that, because like what Desh Patnaik ji presented also, see, and the presentation given by, I mean, when he was speaking, Deputy Director, Namami Gange Project, LNG. So actually the point is that first we have to be very clear that, because water is such a vast and multidisciplinary subject, that there are not 100 but thousands of issues which are there. There are layers and layers of complexities when you talk about water management. So we have to be very clear that how do we perceive and actually see and visualize the water security related issue. How do we define it? Because that would determine how do we see the challenges in the water sector. And for that, I would again say, what is the economic value of water, which is related to the allocation of water as a resource. Currently, it is happening by default. We do not have any kind of policy which we can say that on basis of which we do the allocation of water as a resource for any particular area. So how do we see water as a crisis scenario? Number one. And number two, to what extent do we want to go? Because it is very easy sometimes to say that let us price the water properly, and why it is that if X per liter is the amount which a residence or residential consumer has to pay, and why it is 50x which industry has to pay. See, then there are a number of issues. And if you want to address this issue, then how the subsidies are directed, whether they have to be operating subsidies, or they have to be capital investment related subsidies, or whether they have to be direct subsidies or indirect subsidies. There are ways of handling those issues. So how do we see that? Because equity in terms of making water available is in a kind of the responsibility of the state. So how do we benchmark this particular idea? And then third is, how do we see the role of water in terms of overall socio-economic and environmental importance? That is very important, because I will give you an example. There are studies which say that, like, you can take off like example of Punjab. You might have heard about this cancer train thing. So
yeah,
there is a huge agricultural belt. So most of the agriculture produce is exported out of the state, maybe within the country, or at times maybe out of the country. But that belt of Punjab is not the major consumer of the agriculture produce. But there are environmental and social issues. Environmental issues, waterlogging is a major problem. The extent to which the fertilizers and pesticides are used, it has become a major problem of contamination of even the groundwater. So the whole ecosystem in some parts of that state has got disturbed. So are you bothered with that or not? Are the policymakers bothered with that or not? So if we talk about water footprint thing, so first there has to be clarity in the mind of the policymakers, we sitting in the government, that how do we perceive water challenges? So is there only an issue related to making water available? Or it is, as you rightly mentioned, that sustainability is one of the major issues when we talk about water management. Socio-economic and environmental aspects, how do we perceive them? And then this whole policy has to be devised, because the international trade in food items is causing a lot of socio-environmental problems in the exporting countries, in exporting regions. That is another problem, because like forests are being cleared for growing soy, which goes for animal feed. Forests are being cleared for growing cocoa and coffee, which goes mostly to the European countries or to the North America. So we have to first decide that, and then, as I have said, we have to define the boundaries. Then we have to frame our policies, and we have to then give proper guideline that how water accounting, footprint accounting can be done, and how do we, because there will be trade-off. Because there, when you talk about sustainability, there will be trade-off among the social requirement, the requirement for the environment, or for the requirement of the economic growth in terms of water as a resource.
Yeah.
So once that policy is laid out, then we can go ahead that how this water footprint analysis has to be made part of policy planning and taking decisions, because there are a lot of complexities. We cannot get to that. At what layer of complexity we have to stop, depending on our vision and our objectives. That is the most important thing. And another thing is that this trade in virtual water, it has basically, there is a principle of comparative advantage. Like if I grow some product in X country, because then comparative advantage in terms of the kind of climate which is there, the kind of rainfall which is there. Some agriculture produce would grow more, better, or more with higher productivity, like in humid climates. So that is one aspect. Another aspect is the comparative advantage in terms of international trades. Like if there are few countries which are more, dependent on like manufacturing, where industry or services is the major part of their economic growth model, that would determine how virtual water is getting traded in different commodities. So it is a very complex and intricate subject. So the country, there is economic theory of this principle of comparative advantage. So ultimately, we would be keep on growing more and more rice. Rice would be like replacing other agriculture produce because of X, Y, Z reason. Because there are some international trade or economic growth model or level of advancement, or the per capita income of maybe the importing or exporting country, that would determine how water would get like exported for indirect use, which we call virtual water. So having the broad policy guideline becomes very important. The decision that how to go ahead with water footprint analysis would come subsequently. Up to what extent do we want to go? So that is the whole point, because then there are international economic forces also. It is inbuilt into the system. It is not very easy to, shackle or break those economic and financial and trade related systems which have got developed in like last more than 100 years. It is very difficult, because then there would be other stakeholder forces also which would come into play. So that we have to decide. So a deep thought has to be given by the policymaker that how do we see our regional water security related issues? How do we see our international and national intra-state trade of goods and services and agriculture produce? And what is the time horizon which we are looking for? And then accordingly, we can take up the concepts of water footprint analysis and then start with making investments accordingly. Because water is an area like Desh Patnaik ji was also mentioning, because water is such an area, like if you have to develop like water infrastructure for a town of like 10 lakh of population, and if you have invested like 1,000 crore rupees, then you are stuck with that investment. So there is investment lock-in. So water is a sector which suffers with another problem of investment lock-in. So like if I buy 10 buses, if I'm not able to operate them in Jaipur, then I can transport it to some other city. But with water, particularly buried infrastructure, this is a huge problem. So that those investment decisions also have to become based on a well thought out and laid out plan in the water sector. So that is my whole point, that how we have to go ahead with this whole idea. So deep thinking is needed. A lot of groundwork is needed. The picture has to be made clear in our own mind that what we want to achieve, what are our objectives, because there are hundreds of issues in water sector, as I have said,
Right.
hundreds, sometimes
Right, sir.
thousands of complexities, number of areas, fields, and science. A lot of science is also there. So
Right, sir.
we can lay out what exactly we have to do. Otherwise, we keep on talking and talking and talking. There is so much theory.
Yes, 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 yes.
We get down on table and start developing the plan for implementation, it becomes very difficult.
Yes, even I have also written down several points on the basis of your discussions. I have lots of questions in my mind, but still the time would not be able to permit me. But definitely, I think as that's why I mentioned that this is the curtain raiser dialogue, and hopefully through this we have started the initiation of urban water footprint dialogue. And on behalf of SAIARD, I thanks to all of you, particularly the resource persons, our Saurabh ji, Ajitab ji, Nalin ji, Ramnath sir, everybody. I will congratulate. And today, though it's a holiday, one kind of, but still you have joined, you have share your precious time for us, and share some valuable inputs. Through that way, I find it some people has connected throughout the world, not only from India but throughout the world. They have joined and they have interacted each other in chat box. So it's really interesting, and hopefully in coming day we are looking forward to do something more on that physical level. And as everybody who mentioned that Bhakti ji has also working on the water sector since a long time. Kankana ma'am has also in water sector. They are our associate partner. So hopefully this number will increase in future, and we may presume to be a short case studies in cities, as Ajitab Sharma has mentioned. Even Saurabh sir has also ground practitioner because as an industrialist. So I think in coming days we will sit together to discuss a lot, to find out some more options, and that should be. Lastly, I would conclude that there should be a urban water footprint concept note, a theory or formula, anything through which we can try to implement in a shorter way. And hopefully it will be an coming day, it will be a model for every cities of India and other parts of the world. So with this, once again, I thanks to all of you, and congratulate to all the participants to be a part of that dialogue. Hope in coming day we are, that in every second and fourth Saturday of every month, SAIARD has organized several think tank based dialogue. In coming fourth Saturday, we are going to organize our second urban water footprint dialogue. So I request it to all of you to please join, and there will be another resource person from another sectors, another states. So hope you will enjoy. With this, thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, sir.
sir.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bhakti ji, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye-bye.
You are on mute.
Oh, sorry. Bye bye. Thank you. It was very
Okay.
good one. Good start to our
So,
dialogue.
Bhakti ji, next dialogue, you have to host the
Yes.
next dialogue on coming
Absolutely.
fourth Saturday. So
Yes.
you please prepare.
I've noted the date. That's good. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Looking
Okay,
forward
bye.
to it.
And also, yeah, thank you.
Welcome to the new
And
members.
thank you, Fayad. Thank you, Fayad. We will for joining. Hope we will work together, and you have shared your interest to be a part of
Yes.
SAIARD
Sure,
from
brother.
Bangladesh.
Brother,
We will love to.
Sorry to
Yes.
interrupt you. That I'm currently working in a project in India. Do you know the Purvashar Eco Helpline in Sundarban?
Purvasha
It's
Eco
in
Helpline.
Sundarban.
the Nodiate. So আমি সেখানে
Okay.
উমাশঙ্কর মডেল স্যারের কাছে কাজ করছি, ম্যানগ্রোভ ম্যান, এবং আমরা পানি নিয়ে কাজ
আচ্ছা।
করছি। So hope to, মানে
Oh,
I'm
I
really
understand. I
optimistic.
understand. Thank you. Very, very nice
Thank you,
to
Lala.
see because Umashankar is
Thank you.
quite close to me, and you can
Great.
mention my name. He's very close to me, so definitely it will be good. And if you are from Bangladesh, then there is lots of people from connected us with the Bangladesh as well.
Yes.
And I think if you can work together from Bangladesh, it will be good. Thank you.
Absolutely.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care. Bye bye.